I suppose the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you where I'm from. See this? I always love showing that to people. It's in the area not obedient to England in the 1600s. And I'm glad I'm from there, and I'm glad I still live there. I remember leaving college in Limerick, coming through art college, and I remember a curator at the time, I went on to curate for Venice, I think, and he said to me, you have to move to Berlin or New York to be a successful artist. And I said, like fucking shite, I'm going to move to Berlin or New York. I'm going back to Wexford where I belong, right? And this thing of, I could talk to you about anything, but I want to talk to you about folklore. That's what I was talking about Holly there earlier on. I suppose about my particular 15 minutes is about kind of folklore and I suppose sense of belonging to a place. Now, I kind of straddle, I don't know what I do really, but I know what I make and I know different people connect with what I do on different levels. So you could have the art crowd, you could have the heritage crowd, or you could have just someone else who's a car mechanic, someone who's a traveller, someone who's a baker. I don't make any efforts to make anything particularly, whatever the material is. I kind of found the art world very, very narrow. I found it up its own arse. I found the heritage thing, you're beginning to realise what other stuff is outside of built walls. I'm glad of that. You know, I was going to remember being at a conference once in Kilkenny and a woman from some heritage organisation said she wasn't interested, if there was a fiddle in front of her, she wasn't interested in the tunes that the fiddle could play, she was only interested in the object itself. Now, I have an interest in people, and I have an interest in life, and I have an interest in life in all its complexities and all its contradictions and I don't think in black and white. And I don't like anyone telling me about where I'm coming from. And I'm seeing it happen with regard to stories and with regard to an interest in folklore all of a sudden. I grew up with folklore. It wasn't something that I went back to the school's folklore scheme to learn about, and with so many people as well. And folklore and belief and all these things exist around us if we only had the ability to talk and ask and look, rather than having to be this over-academic, formulaic looking at the school's folklore scheme, which is fantastic, but it bores me after a while, right? It really does, okay? This is my mother. Every year my mother would get dressed up, call up to my grandmother, didn't know who she was, and she'd act Egypt. Now that was the same tradition of Halloween that went on in this part of Wexford for hundreds and hundreds of years. Again, I won't even show it to you, but I filmed it for about 10 years as a little family ritual. And on, there she is calling up. Granny didn't have a fucking clue who she was. And the year Granny died, Granny got sick that October, and I said I better go in and tell her who she was. So I went in and told her it was my mother and said, the old bitch, and that was the end of it. There was no row. But that was a kind of a very simple thing for me to do because it was a family ritual. But it just showed you, like, again, this idea of Halloween. I've been banging on about Halloween for 15, 20 years. You know, now it's all, you know, I see Board Fallshire sharing it now, whatever, all of a sudden. And that's something I suppose I'm delighted to talk about. I have a huge issue with this. I'm seeing people using our language, the language we would have used for 10, 15 years. Now it's being used, as Alan mentioned, for monetary gain, for bed nights. For bed nights. Stopping the Germans, stopping the French and Rosslare, keeping them all happy. And we forget to do stuff for ourselves. And that's something I always do. We do stuff for us. We, as a person, an alien is the same. We do stuff for the communities and the people in which we live and the people who we engage. And that, there to us are the people, not the Germans or the French and their bed nights, and not to be recognised by that. I'm going to talk to you about folklore, and I'll stop being cranky, right? Right. Right, and I'll show you some stuff as well. This is my mother at home. I back in 2005 or 6, I would have recorded around the kitchen table. I suppose here's the other thing. When I see text and I hear people saying the handwriting of the school children's folklore scheme, God, it was lovely. But there was loads of flaws in that too. It depended on what teacher you had. There were loads of flaws in that. It's a fantastic foundation, right? But it's no good if it's just going to be a kind of a resource to go back to, just to kind of dip into and talk about. You know, maybe we might interview the person who recorded it. Stories were alive and are alive in the minds of people in villages all over the country. But again, as I said, they need to be talked to. One of the things I saw an awful lack of joined up thinking was the recording of folklore on film. I started recording back in the late 90s. I would have recorded neighbours, my mother, because do you know why? It's very easy to put up a page with writing on it saying this was the banshee lived here, but you're missing the person's accent, you're missing their characteristics, you're missing their manners, you're missing when they're acting to Egypt, you're missing all those lovely human qualities that are as part of that story as to analyse the story. And wasn't it interesting, there was a fairy spot in this part of the road, right? Also, whatever, I too think as well, in Ireland where we're living now, and I'm in Kildare, and I'm glad I heard some Kildare accents today, but this flattening of local accents around the country, it's killing me, it breaks my heart, because that's intrinsically tied in with storytelling and people talking, and that connection to place. I would have started recording on film since the late 90s, and I'd be dropped in, people said to me, no one will talk to you on film, and I said, it's bullshit, people talk, people will talk to you because you are, there's loads of things, you're performing behind the camera as much as they are performing in front of the camera to you, right? And it's a way of working, it's a way of trusting, and it's a way of not someone going in and taking and bringing back and putting on the archive, or taking and bringing back and putting in the art gallery. I'm glad artists today were talking about the community halls. We deliberately used the community halls for years, deliberately, because there were places where people would go and feel comfortable and access material, or kitchen tables, or sheds, or spots like that, right? So we record, right? Collection after collection. Now these collections serve different purposes. You can show them in Germany at a film festival, and someone will go, they'll be analysing the connection between the Banshee story, or you can show them in a village hall. Collection after collection, right? And I don't own these. They're not mine. I'm just the conduit in which this stuff comes to me, do I get it back out, right? And in some ways, I found out recently, it's actually only when you've recorded it, it's actually only becomes alive again, because it's gone back out. It's been watched now. Years ago, we would produce stuff on DVD, so people would have locally been given DVDs back out into the village. So those stories had currency back again. And there were currency in people's lives, and people could connect with them. Now, I use this thing, and that's the most powerful tool for me getting stuff out, right? I'm going to show you. So there's village halls before village halls were becoming sexy, right? These are back in 2004, 5. Libraries. My objective was, if you're making work, I had absolutely no interest in licking some curator's arse and trying to get artwork presented in some white wall gallery that only artists and red wine tipplers will come along and get a photograph and look at it and kick and say, isn't it fantastic? And aren't you very interesting, right? Absolute bullshit, right? And so we went our way with the projectors and the bags and the speakers presenting in those places, right? Back in 2 years ago, I basically had 23 different collections, and I was giving them away. I said, do something about this, will you, Mick? So we produced a whole day event with the National Library where I reprinted all my stuff again, all at my own cost, by the way, right? Funny, Alan mentioned about funding. I know I'll mention it later on, I'll keep it because it's a good one, right? It's a good one. So that's a collection, right? Most of this stuff is available online through YouTube, or if you want to buy a copy for a tenner, some libraries are buying them, whatever, but it's literally just to cover my costs, right? I'm going to show you. Are we all okay for time? No, 2 minutes. Tag away with that, will you? 2 minutes? 5 minutes? Okay. Yeah. Listen, I just want to show, there's tons of stuff, right? I could put up any particular video, but I'll just show you one little clip, right? Because I want to show you about how getting stuff out there, right? And this is just a little collection from Mayo. It's only 2 minutes long. I'll show you.
And another thing is too, say New Year's, say after Christmas, New Year's Day.
New Year's Day.
There were some people that wouldn't want a woman going in first into the house.
Oh no, to be a black-haired man.
It would have to be a man.
And they wouldn't want a red-haired woman.
A red-haired woman. And if you met a red-haired woman or a red-haired man, red-haired woman, you'd have no luck.
You turn back from they'd turn back from the fair if they were going got up at 6 o'clock in the morning and they met a red-haired woman that drive the kettle back.
That's right.
If you were out in the park with saying, and there'd be headers and everything like that, and one minute it'd be smooth as everything we got. Then this bush would come, and they said that was the fairies crossing across.
Yeah. That's fairy crossing. Yeah, that's right.
Fairy crossing the heather.
And
you're never supposed to cross the path again. Yeah. It's the dangers.
Mm.
You know, the open fire, that's another thing. If a coal fell backwards, that was a visitor coming.
Mm.
Yeah, that's the
and
old
if
people
the fire kind of sparkled out and they said there were money was coming to you.
Money or fight.
Money,
I heard. There was fight too put into it, which wasn't good.
And some people hated a frog coming into the house.
That's
Other
right.
people
The
hated...
sign of rain too.
No, the sign of death.
Is it?
Yeah.
Or a robin?
Well, the robin, I don't know, but down our west was a frog.
A robin, up our way.
That's just a sample, lads, right? Just a little sample from I'm going to show you photographs. I'm not going to leave it. I'll show you these photographs, the power of it, right? The material is rich, right? The material is rich on so many levels. I could show that clip back about someone meddling with a raheen, getting bad luck, and his wife dying. I'd screen that back somewhere and the people would burst their stitches laughing at it, burst their hole laughing at it. You'd show it back to a different audience and they're analysing it, going, it's terrible, the wife dying. And it's really interesting. I actually find it's really interesting just to watch how people engage with this material, because they own it. We don't own it. You can talk about this, you know, this academic analysis of folklore. These are the people who tell the stories, and they tell it in all its contradictions. I want to show you, I'm going to end with this, right? I record with young people. These are travellers I'm working up in Dublin at the moment, right? Young lads down in Wexford from a couple of years ago, right? This is a young lads in Limerick. Both Aileen and myself would record in 2004. Back right in the middle of the city. This is the other thing that will prove that folklore is not this rural pursuit, right? And this rural pursuit, because we've created these divisions in Ireland about the urban east and the rural west, right? Rubbish stuff again. And all these areas that are being forgotten about because they don't fit some kind of bracket. They don't fit the Board Education of Ireland bracket, or they don't fit some kind of Celtic revival bracket from the late 1900s. There's areas that are forgotten about. Wexford was forgotten about. North Wexford was forgotten about. Didn't have the Irish language. We spoke Hiberno English. We weren't, and all you need is one academic to go to one area, and all his students will follow him. And all this kind of following of someone else rather than actually looking around what's around you. This is in Limerick. All the young lads had a story that the banshee lived in Handball Alley, and if you touch the four corners into the Hail Mary backwards, the banshee would come out and she'd haunt you and she'd go through you, right? The story was invented to keep young lads away because there were lads taking drugs. We did a gorgeous collection there, about an hour and a half long, of stories. We did a screening back in the Handball Alley itself back in 2005. You could show it in the Project Art Centre, but you can't compare it to that, right? Back to where it was. Just to show you, I discovered Facebook 2.5 years ago, and I'm going to end with this, right? I hated the concept of it. An alien used to be given out to me. I said, get off my fucking Facebook page, will you? And stop looking, being nosy. Get your own, set your own up, right? So I set my own up and I said, right, I was grudgingly. And had all this material on hard drives was no good to me. And we kind of discovered a few things straight away. To unpack material, I was able to, I would just put up a little clip. The interest people have in folklore is incredible. The interest people have all over the country of it is incredible. There's an appetite for it, but they won't see it on RTE. They won't see it in TG4, especially the English language stuff, whatever. So these are the tools in which people access stuff now. In the last couple of weeks, I've had 2.5 million hits on 2 videos alone, right? That's 2.5 million hits. Now, 7-8 years ago, I remember contacting trying to get a bursary from the Film Council in the Arts Council. And I remember getting feedback from the person, whatever, because I wasn't fitting any particular bracket, right? And this kind of stuff wasn't sexy and cool as it is now, right? She said to me that the panel thought my videos were too YouTubey, right? And God forbid the concept of being able to share videos on YouTube, the concept of degrading the quality of a moving image from bring it into a gallery that gets tons of money from management team and administration and accessing through a computer. So right, just to show you, right, I'm going to end. I do a series called The First of the Month on folklore. It's on Facebook, as you can get it on my Facebook page, and we pick a theme every month with a guy called Robbie Sinnott, and we just talk about things. Last month we were talking about birds, this month we're talking about animals, and it's free, cheap broadcast, right? And just to show you, if I put up a video of, say, Rags Tree, I screen grabbed these last night, 6.2. Now, I'm not gauging things by the success of the views, by the way, right? I'm sometimes engaging stuff by the engagement of people in the comments. That's my engagement. 10,000 views in St. Bridget's, a little 3-minute clip or 2-minute clip. Another one from Mayo about Christmas, 2.5. So this material that I'm collecting is constantly alive. It's constantly getting back out there and shared. And just by getting stuff out there, and I'll put up a clip depending on what time of year it is, depending on what humour I'm in, and it goes out there and shared and circulated locally, away from the big hands, and simple production stuff, right? Simple production, tons of stuff, right? These are just screen grabs, 2,000 views. I'm going to end with this. I'll probably get tired of Facebook after a year's time or something, right? But I find friends over in Newfoundland, again, this idea of these tools that kill folklore, kill storytelling. I get most of my research done from sitting at home in front of the computer. A friend over in Newfoundland sends me over photographs of his Maybush tradition over there. Another friend in Newfoundland will tell me, so I'm using Messenger and getting photographs constantly, the whole time. And as a result now, RTE have copped onto me and they've got me doing stuff. So I'm doing stuff for RTE and writing stuff for the Journal. And I even wrote for the Ireland's Own, which has really made my day. So I'm going to stop right there. So go on. And I could talk for hours. Go on. Good luck. Thanks very much.